For me, weight loss has been a lifelong frustration. I've always wanted to be skinnier, healthier. And when my daughters came along and I had some pregnancy complications, a part of me was like, well, maybe this is weight related. I had preeclampsia, so supposedly they don't really know what causes that, but I'd like to know that it wasn't my fault. And so that really motivated me to step back into the weight loss world after years and years of trying and failing. And I think I needed that kick in the butt, but at the same time, I don't know how many diets I tried before this point. It'd probably been 20 plus diets over 22 years of time, and I hadn't been able to stick with any of them. I hadn't been able to maintain weight loss more than, like 10 pounds at a time ever. So it was it was not easy for me to kind of go back to the drawing board and start over again, because here I had been given all the same information that everybody else is given. I'd followed it, I thought, pretty well, and I hadn't gotten the results. So then the only conclusion I could come to at that point was that it just didn't work. I just wasn't meant to lose weight. I was just destined to be in this body the way that it is for the rest of time. Like, realistically, I seem to be pretty healthy. My blood work generally is pretty good. I don't have high blood pressure issues. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any sort of diagnosed ailments. I'm just functioning like a normal human at a higher body weight. So I kind of at one point determined I don't have to lose weight, I guess. I've tried so many times. I'm done trying. It doesn't work, so on and so forth. But after the pregnancies, I was like, I know this could be weight related. I can't prove it, but I know it could be weight related. And I would like to guarantee that before I have my next child, I do as much as I possibly can to get a healthy body so that I know any complications that come along aren't a result of me not taking responsibility for my life. The problem is, when I decided, hey, I'm going to step back into the weight loss game, I'm going to try this again, I kind of had to start from scratch all over again. I had to decide that I wasn't going to listen to the events or the results of my previous failures. I couldn't keep looking at them and saying, well, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, I'm just destined to be fat. Because the reality is, if I want to be thin, I have to keep working at it. I'm never going to get there if I give up on it. So this time I was determined. I'm like, I'm not going to give up on it. I'm going to keep going until I figure this out. And it has been a long journey to get here. And I've had very little results, but I've learned a whole lot in the process. And I think that's why I am finally getting some results, why I am seeing my measurements going down, even if my weight isn't changing, why I am seeing my body improve in the way that it looks, even though I don't notice the difference on the scale. And I think that's something that so often happens for people when they do weight loss, is they look at the scale as the only metric to determine whether or not they're actually making progress. And then when you don't see progress for months and months and months, you're like, it's not working. And I feel that, because that's exactly what I've been seeing. I can actually see my body shrinking. I can actually see my inches coming off. I can see that my rolls are getting smaller, and yet my weight is exactly the same as it was when I started. I still weigh right around 250 pounds. Now, technically speaking, over the last couple days, I've been 248, and I've been in a pretty severe calorie deficit because I'm doing an experiment for a YouTube video. But all things considered, like, this is exactly the same weight I have been the entire time. It hasn't changed at all, and I don't understand it. The only thing I can think of is that I have dieted so much that my muscle mass decreased substantially. And now that I'm finally eating enough protein, my body's packing on pounds of muscle really, really quickly, because there's no other explanation I can think of. I'm obviously not putting on a whole bunch of fat, and I'm not eating in a substantial surplus. I certainly know that. I'm being very diligent. So that's something that I think we really need to become aware of, is that you don't actually know what's going to happen to your body. You don't know what your journey is going to look like. You just got to stick with it. And all too often, it's easy to say it just doesn't work for me. But the reality is, you have to take a hard look at yourself and question, am I being consistent? Am I willing to stick with this until I get the success that I'm looking for? And if not, how can I get that way? Because if you want the dream body, you have to keep working for it. There is literally no other way to get there. And if you tell yourself, hey, calorie deficit doesn't work for me, It's impossible for me to lose weight. What option do you have? There's literally no way for you to get your dream body now. There's no way for you to be thinner. There's no way for you to be healthier. You have basically condemned yourself to a life you hate. And I wasn't willing to do that to myself anymore. So I had to look at my consistency, and I had to determine that I probably hadn't been as consistent as I thought I was. I hadn't tracked my consistency, and that likely led to some issues. So here I am now tracking my consistency, tracking my calories, seeing where I am at on a daily basis, overestimating calories in order to ensure that I'm accounting for everything. And I have to trust that it'll work eventually. I have to recognize the progress that I have made. And I have to look at my body and say, I don't get it. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to keep going anyway, because I deserve to have better health. My children deserve better health from me. My children deserve my ability to be there for them, to be running around with them, to be interacting with them without pain. And that is something that I have to work on. That's something that I have to move toward, and I have to work with my body rather than against it. And I don't know what that path's going to look like from here. It hasn't been straightforward or linear. I haven't seen weight loss consistently coming off. I haven't seen the scale go down. All I can say is that from my perspective, I am smaller. And from the perspective of others, I seem to be smaller too, although my husband doesn't seem to notice at all, which he admits. But other people do. And I have to trust that. I have to keep going anyway. And it's hard. It's not pleasant. I'm figuring it out. I'm messing up. I'm starting over again. And ultimately, I'm going to keep doing that because I want to make progress. I want to get there. And the only way to get there is to keep going anyway. Every day, get back on the horse. Every day, start again. Every day, decide I'm going to work on my health. Every day, decide I'm going to make better food choices. And even if things never work out the way that they're supposed to, you can at least know you're doing everything you possibly can to figure this out. And you are healthier as a result of it, because I know for sure that because I'm now changing the way that I eat, eating more fruits and vegetables and getting more protein in, my body is much happier with me. So even if I don't lose the weight, I'm still going to be a healthier person. But my guess is, because I refuse to give up this time, I am going to get the results that I'm looking for. And more than likely, if you can make that commitment too, you will as well. Because it's that commitment and that willingness to push through the difficulty, to push through the fear, to push through the frustration of not seeing the scale go down, that is likely to get you the results that you're looking for. It's amazing how consistency is like the golden ticket to everything you could possibly want in life. Literally every dream you have or any goal that you have is more likely to be achieved if you can be consistent in your efforts to attain it. And this is something I'm learning on the financial front, and it's something I'm learning on the physical health front, and more than likely it would be something I'd be learning in my relationships too, except I already knew that one. I was already willing to invest the time in my relationships before this point. For whatever reason, that was the thing that was easy for me. I always knew relationships would take time, but I don't know why. Maybe it's because I did really well in school, but I was not trained to be consistent and to keep working in life. I was not trained to keep pushing through the difficulty, and now I'm having to learn that lesson. So now's your chance to learn that lesson too, to jump on the wagon, to restart your progress every day, to keep moving forward even when you're not seeing the results that you want, so that you can finally get the dream that you want to achieve.